A billionaire catches twin sisters trying to steal food at a grocery store. Touched by their situation, he leaves them in his mother's care. When he comes back from work, he finds one of the twins holding a photo that will change his life forever. The silence of the nearly empty grocery store was suddenly broken by the metallic sound of cans falling onto the floor. Michael Anderson, impeccable in his Armani suit, froze in the middle of the aisle. It was Sunday night, and he had only stopped by to pick up a bottle of wine for dinner with his mother, Margaret. "Grace, watch out!" A child's hushed whisper, tinged with panic, echoed through the aisle. Michael turned slowly, his blue eyes scanning the area. There, partially hidden behind a stack of canned peas, were two girls. Identical twins, he noticed, no more than 4 years old. One of them, the one who had apparently knocked over the cans, had her eyes wide with fear. The other, probably the one who had whispered, was frantically trying to gather the scattered items. "Hey," Michael called gently, taking a cautious step toward them. "Are you all right?" The girls froze like tiny deer caught in headlights. The one collecting the cans stood up quickly, positioning herself protectively in front of her sister. We didn't do anything," she stammered, her chin trembling slightly. It was then that Michael noticed. The pockets of the girls' worn-out jackets were bulging. A piece of bread peeked out from one girl's collar. His heart tightened as he realized these children, so small, were trying to steal food. "Are you two here by yourselves?" he asked gently, crouching down to their eye level. The girls exchanged nervous glances but remained silent. The one in front, the braver one, he noted, pressed her lips together, clearly reluctant to answer. "My name is Michael," he introduced himself, trying to offer a reassuring smile. "What are your names?" The brave girl hesitated, but then responded, "I'm Emma. This is my sister Grace." Grace, the one who had knocked over the cans, let out a muffled sob. Michael noticed her knee was slightly scraped and bleeding, likely hurt in the fall. "Grace is hurt," he observed gently. "Can I take a look?" Emma hesitated, then reluctantly nodded. Michael approached slowly, pulling a handkerchief from his pocket. "This might sting a little, okay?" he warned, carefully cleaning Grace's knee. The girl bit her lip, but didn't cry. While tending to the scrape, Michael noticed details he had missed at first glance. The worn-out shoes, the slightly dirty clothes, the hair in need of a good comb. These girls were clearly not receiving proper care. "Are you hungry?" he asked, though he already suspected the answer. Emma gave a hesitant nod, her eyes filling with unshed tears. The sight tore at Michael's heart. "It's all right," he assured them. "You're not in trouble. How about this? I'll buy you something to eat, and then we can talk for a bit. Sound good?" The twins looked at each other, having a silent exchange. Finally, Emma nodded. "Okay," she agreed. "But it has to be quick. We can't take too long." Michael guided the girls through the store, watching as they selected sandwiches, fruit and juice with a seriousness far beyond their years. Children this young shouldn't have to worry about what they'll eat. After paying for the groceries, including the items the girls had tried to steal, Michael took them to a bench outside the store. The late afternoon sun cast a golden light over them, highlighting their blonde hair and green eyes that seemed too large for their thin faces. As the twins ate ravenously, Michael gently tried to find out more about their situation, but the girls remained evasive, exchanging anxious looks at each question. It was clear they were scared and had been told not to talk to strangers. Michael felt his world spin. How could there be children going through this just a few miles from his mansion? "Emma, Grace," he said softly when they finished eating. "You can't stay on your own. It's dangerous, and you need help." Panic returned to the girl's eyes. "No," Emma exclaimed. "We can't go with you. We have to go back." Michael felt his heart clench. Before he could think twice and the words left his mouth, What if you both came with me? Just for tonight. My mother loves children. She'd be happy to look after you while we figure out what to do." The twins exchanged glances again, that silent communication that seemed well beyond their years. "Can we trust him?" Grace's look seemed to ask. Emma studied Michael for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Okay," she said, her voice small but resolute. But just for tonight. And tomorrow, we have to go back. Michael felt a huge wave of relief. Of course, he promised. Tomorrow we'll sort everything out. As he led the girls to his sports car, realizing too late he had no car seats for them, Michael wondered what on earth he was getting himself into. His mother would probably think he was crazy for bringing home 2 children he didn't know. But then Grace yawned, a sound so innocent and trusting it made his heart melt. And Emma, despite her protective stance, leaned her head against his arm as he helped them into the car. In that moment, Michael knew he had done the right thing. He didn't know how, but he was going to help these girls, and maybe, just maybe, they would help him too, filling a void in his life he hadn't even realized was there. As he drove toward his mother's mansion, Michael couldn't imagine how this chance encounter at the grocery store was about to change his life forever. The soft purr of Michael's Aston Martin ceased as he pulled into the circular driveway of the Anderson mansion. The porch light switched on automatically, illuminating the imposing facade of the house. In the back seat, Emma and Grace gazed wide-eyed, their small hands clasped together. "Wow," Grace whispered, her voice barely audible. "Is it a castle?" Michael couldn't hold back a smile. "Not exactly, but my mother sometimes acts like a queen." He had barely finished the sentence when the front door opened, revealing Margaret Anderson. At 55, she still had the elegant poise and sharp gaze that had made her one of the most respected socialites in the city. Her face, usually composed, twisted in confusion at the sight of Michael helping 2 disheveled girls out of the car. "Michael," she called, descending the front steps. "What's going on?" Michael took a deep breath, preparing to explain. "Mom, these are Emma and Grace. They need our help tonight." Margaret frowned, but then her gaze fell on the girls. The twins shrank slightly under her scrutiny, Grace hiding partly behind Emma. Something in the children's eyes must have moved Margaret, because her expression softened immediately. She knelt down, ignoring her expensive dress pressing against the gravel. "Hello, sweethearts," she said gently. "You must be cold. How about we go inside and have some hot chocolate?" Emma, ever the protector, hesitated. But Grace, enticed by the mention of hot chocolate, took a small step forward. "Will there be marshmallows?" she asked timidly. Margaret smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her face. "Of course, dear. As many marshmallows as you want." That seemed to break the ice. The girls followed Margaret inside, with Michael right behind them, carrying the small, worn-out bag that Grace had refused to let go of. In the spacious, immaculate kitchen, Margaret moved efficiently, preparing hot chocolate while Michael helped the girls climb onto the high stools at the counter. The rich, sweet aroma soon filled the air, making the twins' stomachs growl audibly. "Here you go," Margaret said, placing 2 steaming mugs in front of the girls. Each was topped with a generous handful of marshmallows. "Careful, it's hot." Emma and Grace picked up the mugs reverently, as though they were precious treasures. At the first sip, their eyes widened in delight. "This is the best chocolate in the world," Grace declared, already sporting a chocolate mustache above her upper lip. Margaret laughed, a soft, melodious sound that made the girls smile shyly. "I'm glad you like it. Now, how about a warm bath while I fix something for you to eat?" The twins exchanged apprehensive looks. We have to leave soon," Emma said, hesitant. Margaret frowned, casting a questioning glance at Michael. He gave a subtle gesture, indicating he would explain later. "Well, as long as you're here, let's make you comfortable, okay?" Margaret said gently. "I promise no one will make you do anything you don't want to." After a moment's hesitation, the girls agreed. Margaret led them upstairs to one of the many guest bathrooms. Michael followed, carrying clean towels and plush robes. "Oh, Grace," Margaret exclaimed softly upon seeing the girl's injured knee. "We'll take care of that after your bath, all right?" Grace nodded timidly, still clinging to her worn-out bag. "Sweetheart," Margaret said gently, "you can leave your bag out here while you bathe. I promise no one will touch it." Grace bit her lip, clearly reluctant. Emma stepped in. "It's okay, Grace," she whispered. "We can trust them." With one last hesitant glance, Grace handed the bag to Michael. He placed it carefully on a nearby chair, where the girls could see it through the slightly open bathroom door. While Margaret helped the twins with their bath, Michael went downstairs to the kitchen, his mind awhirl with questions. Who were these girls? Where were their parents? And what was in that little bag that was so important to Grace? Half an hour later, two clean and sweet-smelling girls wearing oversized t-shirts as nightgowns came down the stairs, hand in hand with Margaret. Their freshly washed and combed blonde hair shone under the soft light of the living room. "Look at you," Michael smiled. "You look like real little princesses." Grace giggled, her first giggle that he had heard. Emma, though still cautious, looked more at ease. Margaret guided them to the dining room table, where plates of mac and cheese, classic comfort food, awaited. The girls ate eagerly, displaying surprisingly polite manners for such young children. As they ate, Margaret and Michael exchanged glances. There were so many questions, so many worries. But they both knew this wasn't the time to push. After dinner, with the girls struggling to keep their eyes open, Margaret led them to one of the guest bedrooms. "You can stay here tonight," she said, helping them climb onto the large king-size bed. "If you need anything, just call." Grace grabbed Margaret's hand. Can you tell us a story?" The request caught Margaret by surprise, but her face lit up with a warm smile. "Of course, dear. How about Cinderella?" While Margaret told the story, her gentle voice filling the room, Michael watched from the doorway. He saw the exact moment the girls fell asleep, their small hands still clasped together. Margaret tiptoed out of the room, closing the door quietly behind her. She looked at Michael, her eyes reflecting a mix of concern and determination. "Now," she said softly, "you're going to tell me exactly what's going on." Michael nodded, guiding his mother back to the living room. As they sat down, his eyes fell on Grace's worn bag, still untouched on the chair where he had left it. Whatever story lay behind these girls, Michael knew his life would never be the same. And somehow, looking at his mother, he knew she felt the same way. The little bag's mystery would have to wait. For now, two small souls were counting on them for safety. And the Andersons had no intention of letting them down. The sun had barely risen when Michael Anderson quietly slipped out of the mansion. He cast one last glance at the window of the room where Emma and Grace slept, his heart heavy at the decision to leave Auntie, even temporarily. Margaret had promised to take care of the girls and try to learn more about their situation. The workday passed in a blur. Michael found himself unable to focus on the meetings and spreadsheets that normally consumed his attention. His thoughts kept returning to the two little blondes who had so unexpectedly entered his life. By the time he managed to leave the office, it was already past 7 in the evening. Michael drove home faster than usual, eager to see how the girls were doing. The mansion was strangely quiet when he entered, slipping off his shoes to keep silent. Soft voices drifted from the library. Michael approached quietly, stopping at the entrance. The scene before him made him freeze. Emma and Grace were sitting on the plush carpet, surrounded by children's books. Margaret was kneeling beside them, helping Grace hold one of the larger books. But it was what Emma was holding in her small hands that made Michael's heart stop. It was a photograph. A photo of a radiant young woman, smiling broadly as she held two newborn babies. Sarah. Michael's world began to spin. He recognized that face, that smile. Sarah Miller. His high school sweetheart, the girl who had been his best friend and first true love. "Michael!" Margaret's voice pulled him out of his stupor. All three turned to him, surprised by his silent arrival. Michael took a hesitant step into the library, his eyes locked on the photo in Emma's hands. That's Sarah," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma clutched the photo to her chest, her eyes widening. Grace edged closer to her sister, protectively. Michael knelt slowly, trying not to frighten the girls. Do you know Sarah?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Emma and Grace exchanged looks, another silent exchange. It was Grace who finally spoke, her voice small but firm. "She's our mum." Michael's world seemed to collapse. Sarah, a mother, twins. Everything fell into place in a shattering realization. Memories flooded his mind. Sarah and him, carefree teenagers, sitting in the school bleachers talking about their dreams. Prom night, dancing all evening, promising that distance wouldn't separate them. The final kiss at the airport before Michael left for Europe for college. And then, the gradual silence. Calls became fewer, emails took longer. Life led them down different paths until they lost contact completely. "Where's Sarah?" The words left his mouth before he could stop them, tinged with urgent desperation that surprised even him. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma hugged the photo tighter, burying her face in it. Grace bit her lip, her eyes filling with unshed tears. Sensing the rising tension, Margaret intervened softly. "Girls, it's all right. No one will force you to talk about anything you don't want to. Michael is just surprised to see Sarah after all this time." Michael took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He sat on the floor, keeping a respectful distance from the twins. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "I didn't mean to scare you, it's just, I knew Sarah a long time ago." "We were very close." Grace lifted her face, her green eyes so like Sarah's, studying Michael curiously. "You were Mommy's friend?" Michael nodded, a sad smile forming on his lips. "Yes, I was. We went to high school together. She is a very special person." Emma, always protective, studied Michael carefully. "Why didn't you ever visit us before, if you were Mum's friend?" The innocent question hit Michael like a punch. I didn't know about you," he admitted. "Sarah and I lost touch a few years ago after I left to study abroad." Margaret, who had stayed silent, observing the exchange, finally spoke up. "Michael, maybe it's better if we discuss this privately." But Michael barely heard her. His mind whirled with possibilities, with questions. Sarah, a mother of twins. Sarah, whom he hadn't seen in over 5 years. What had happened? "Girls," he said softly, "I know you're probably confused, but I promise we want to help. Anything you can tell us about Sarah, where she might be." Grace let out a muffled sob, burying her face in Emma's shoulder. Emma wrapped an arm around her sister, her eyes taking on a determined gleam. "We can't tell," she said firmly. "We promised Mom." Michael felt his heart clench again. What had happened to Sarah? Why did the girls seem so scared? Margaret rose and, extending her hands to the twins, "Come on, girls, let's make a snack. You can bring the photo if you want." The girls stood hesitantly, Emma still holding the photograph. As they followed Margaret to the kitchen, Michael remained seated on the library floor, surrounded by children's books and Sarah's almost tangible presence. He picked up one of the books, a fairy tale Sarah had once loved. He remembered how she dreamed of becoming a writer, how her eyes shone when she talked about the stories she wanted to tell the world. What had happened to those dreams? How had Sarah become a single mother of twins, and why were the girls alone and frightened? Michael stood up slowly, his eyes roaming over the library shelves. So many books, so many stories. But the one he wanted most to know was Sarah's story, and that of the twins. At that moment, the sound of childish laughter drifted from the kitchen. Michael looked that way, feeling a wave of protectiveness unlike anything he had felt before. Whatever mystery lay behind Sarah and the twins, he was determined to unravel it. And more than that, he was determined to protect Emma and Grace, no matter the cost. With one last glance at the photo of Sarah, left on the carpet by Emma, Michael headed to the kitchen. The mystery would have to wait. For now, there were 2 scared little girls who needed comfort and safety. And maybe, just maybe, by helping them, he could finally fix the mistake he had made years ago when he let Sarah slip out of his life. Distance and time had separated them once, but fate seemed to be giving them a second chance. As he walked to the kitchen, Michael made a silent promise. He would find Sarah, he would find out what had happened. And above all, he would do whatever it took to keep Emma and Grace safe. The smell of freshly baked cookies greeted him in the kitchen, along with the sound of the girls' laughter. For a moment, Michael allowed himself to imagine a future in which that laughter was a constant presence in his life. A future where he, Sarah, and the twins could be a family. It was a distant dream, he knew, but for the first time in years, Michael felt a flicker of hope in his heart. The path ahead would be difficult and full of mysteries, but he was ready to face it. For Sarah, for Emma and Grace, and perhaps, just maybe, for the family they could become. Morning had barely broken when Michael Anderson was already in his home office, red-eyed from a restless night, staring at his computer screen. After the shocking revelation of the previous night, he could barely close his eyes, his mind churning with unanswered questions and frightening possibilities. "Sarah Miller," he murmured, typing the name into the search engine for the 100th time. As always, the results were frustratingly irrelevant. It was as though Sarah had vanished entirely from the digital world. Michael leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes for a moment. Instantly, memories of high school days flooded his mind. Flashback, Sarah laughing, her golden hair shining in the school courtyard. "Come on, Michael, we're going to be late for literature class," he ran after her, grinning. "Since when do you care about being on time?" She stopped, turning to him with a mischievous smile. "Ever since Mr. Johnson promised to talk about Jane Austen today. You know she's my favorite." Michael laughed, taking her hand. "How could I forget? You've only been talking about it for weeks." End of flashback. The sound of his phone ringing pulled him back to the present. It was Margaret. "The girls are asking for you," his mother said without preamble. "They seem anxious." Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm trying to find any lead on Sarah, Mom. Anything." "I know, dear, but these little ones need stability right now, and you need more information. Why not try talking to them again?" He knew his mother was right. "Okay, I'll be home in an hour." Hanging up, Michael made one last desperate search. That's when something caught his eye. A small obituary from 3 months ago. Elizabeth Thompson, 68, passed away peacefully at home. Thompson, the same last name the girls had mentioned. Heart pounding, Michael grabbed his things and rushed out of the office. At the Anderson mansion, Margaret was in the kitchen with Emma and Grace, trying to distract them with cookie making. The girls seemed more relaxed than the day before, but there was still an underlying tension in their small shoulders. "Look who's here," Margaret announced as Michael walked in. The twins turned around, flour on their faces and clothes. For a moment, Michael could see Sarah in them so clearly his heart ached. "Hi, girls," he said gently, approaching. "Can I help you?" Emma nodded hesitantly, while Grace offered a small smile. As he helped them cut the cookie dough into stars and hearts, Michael tried a careful approach. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about the photo you showed me yesterday," he began. "It made me remember when Sarah and I were friends in school." The twins exchanged glances, but remained silent. "She was always so kind and funny," Michael continued. "I remember one time when..." Flashback. The school library was quiet, except for the occasional sound of pages turning. Michael was focused on his chemistry book when something hit his head. Looking down, he saw a paper airplane. He unfolded it, finding a message in Sarah's neat handwriting. "Hey, nerd, how about an ice cream break? My brain is melting from all this Shakespeare." He looked up, spotting Sarah 2 tables away, feigning innocence. When their eyes met, she winked, making him stifle a laugh. End of flashback. "She always knew how to make me laugh," Michael concluded, returning to the present. Grace, who had been listening intently, spoke for the first time. "Mommy makes us laugh too. She tells the best stories." Michael felt his heart constrict. "I'm sure she does." "You must miss her a lot." The girls fell silent again, but Michael noticed tears in Emma's eyes. "Girls," he said softly, "I know you promised not to tell, but we're really worried about your mom. Anything you can tell us would help so much." Emma bit her lip, clearly torn. It was Grace who finally spoke. "Mrs. Thompson said Mom is sleeping." "That she'll wake up soon, but we don't know when." Michael exchanged an alarmed look with Margaret. "Sleeping? Do you know where she is?" Emma shook her head. "Mrs. Thompson didn't tell us. She said it was safer that way." Michael's mind whirled. Was Sarah in a coma? Hospitalized? And why the secrecy? Margaret, sensing his growing agitation, stepped in. "How about we put these cookies in the oven? Then we can watch a movie together." As the girls busied themselves with the task, Margaret pulled Michael aside. "Calm down," she whispered. "I know you want answers, but pushing the girls too hard will only frighten them." Michael nodded, trying to steady himself. You're right. But Mum, what if Sarah is really in danger? What if... Margaret placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. One step at a time, dear. First, we need to earn the girl's complete trust. The rest will come with time. Looking over at Emma and Grace, who were now giggling while placing the cookie tray in the oven, Michael felt a surge of protectiveness. Regardless of what had happened to Sarah, these girls needed him now. Okay, he said, taking a deep breath. We'll do it your way. Joining the twins to choose a movie, Michael made a silent promise. He would find out what happened to Sarah, no matter the cost. But first, he would ensure Emma and Grace felt safe and loved. Sarah's mystery would have to wait. For now, there were cookies to bake, movies to watch, and most importantly, 2 young lives to protect. The social services office was a sober place, with beige walls and artificial plants vainly attempting to add some life. Michael Anderson shifted in the uncomfortable chair, his gaze fixed on the closed door in front of him. After days of fruitless searching, he had finally managed to set up a meeting with Elizabeth Thompson, the social worker handling Sarah Miller's case. The door opened, and a middle-aged woman with graying hair and kind eyes emerged. Mr. Anderson, please come in. Michael rose, his heart pounding. Upon entering the small office, he noticed the stacks of folders and the tired look in Mrs. Thompson's eyes. She gestured for him to take a seat, then settled behind her desk. Mr. Anderson, I understand you're here about Sarah Miller and her daughters, she began, her tone professional yet concerned. Michael nodded eagerly. Yes, I'm taking care of Emma and Grace right now. I found them alone and... Mrs. Thompson raised a hand, interrupting. Before we continue, I need to understand your relationship with the family. How exactly did you become involved in this situation? Michael took a deep breath, knowing he needed to earn the social worker's trust. Sarah and I were friends in high school. We lost contact years ago, but I found the girls by chance. They were alone, frightened. I couldn't just ignore them. Mrs. Thompson's eyes softened slightly. I see. And the girls, are they all right? Yes, Michael assured her. They're safe with my mother. But Mrs. Thompson, please, I need to know what happened to Sarah. The social worker let out a long sigh, appearing to weigh her options. At last, she spoke. Mr. Anderson, normally, I wouldn't be able to share this information, but given the circumstances, Sarah is currently in the ICU at Central Hospital. Michael's world seemed to stop. In the ICU? What happened? There was a car accident about 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Thompson explained quietly. Sarah was driving home from work when her car veered off the road and rolled over. She's been in a coma ever since. Michael felt like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. A coma, he whispered in disbelief. Mrs. Thompson nodded sadly. The doctors are doing everything they can, but the situation is serious, Mr. Anderson. And the girls? Michael asked, mind spinning. Do they know? Not completely, the social worker answered. We've tried to shield them from the full truth, given their age. They know their mother is asleep in the hospital, but they don't understand the gravity of it. Michael ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Why were they alone when I found them? Wasn't anyone caring for them? Mrs. Thompson looked uncomfortable. There were complications. The neighbor who was looking after them fell ill suddenly, and before we could step in and, well, the girls were alone for a short time. I see, Michael murmured, though 1,000 questions still whirled in his mind. Mr. Anderson, Mrs. Thompson said, leaning forward, now that you're involved, I need to know your intentions. These girls need stability and care. Michael met her gaze firmly, his voice resolute as he replied, I'm going to take care of them. I'll be there for Sarah. I'll do whatever it takes to keep this family safe and together. Mrs. Thompson studied him for a long moment before nodding slowly. Very well, I'll need to do a home visit, evaluate the situation. But for now, Easton, it seems the girls are in good hands. When Michael left the office minutes later, his mind was in turmoil. Sarah, in a coma. The girls, scared and confused. And he, suddenly at the center of it all. As he walked to his car, Michael made a silent promise. He would be there for Emma and Grace, giving them all the love and security he could. And he would do everything in his power to bring Sarah back. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city. Somewhere, in a hospital room, Sarah was fighting to return to her daughters, and Michael vowed that when she woke, she would find her entire family safe and waiting for her. With renewed determination, he started the car. His next destination was Central Hospital. It was time to see Sarah and begin unraveling the mystery behind her accident. The antiseptic smell of Central Hospital enveloped Michael as soon as he walked through the automatic doors. His heart pounded wildly in his chest, a mix of anxiety and fear of what he was about to face. Mrs. Thompson's words still echoed in his mind. Sarah in a coma, fighting for her life. With hesitant steps, he approached the reception desk. "Sarah Miller," he said shakily. "I'm here to see Sarah Miller." The receptionist typed something into her computer. "Room 307, third floor," she informed him, her eyes softening at the anxious look on his face. "She's in the ICU. Only family members are allowed." Michael swallowed hard. I'm the father of her daughters," he lied, guilt instantly gnawing at him. But he needed to see Sarah. He had to know. The elevator felt painfully slow. When the doors finally opened on the third floor, Michael felt as if he was stepping into another world. The silence was broken only by the steady beeping of monitors and the hushed tones of distant conversations. Room 307. Michael paused outside the door, his heart nearly leaping out of his chest. Through the small glass pane, he could see a motionless figure on the bed surrounded by machines. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. The rhythmic sound of the heart monitor filled his ears. And there, pale and fragile, lay Sarah. Her golden hair, which he had once adored, was spread across the stark white hospital pillow. Tubes and wires seemed to weave around her like a web, connecting her to the machines that kept her alive. "Oh, Sarah," Michael whispered, walking slowly to the bed. He took her limp hand, surprised by how cold it was. "What happened to you?" Almost as if in response to his question, the door opened, and a middle-aged doctor stepped in, a clipboard in hand. "Mr. Anderson," the doctor asked, extending his hand. "Dr. Patel. I'm the neurologist in charge of Sarah's case." Michael shook the doctor's hand mechanically, his eyes never leaving Sarah. How is she?" Dr. Patel sighed, adjusting his glasses. "Ms. Miller's condition is critical but stable. The accident caused severe head trauma, leading to her current coma." Will she wake up?" Michael asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. "It's hard to say," the doctor replied honestly. "The brain is complex, and every coma case is unique. We're monitoring closely, and there are signs of brain activity, which is good. But the time frame for recovery, if it happens, is uncertain." Michael felt his legs weaken, and he leaned against the side of the bed. "What about after? If she wakes up?" "When she wakes," Dr. Patel corrected gently, "we'll have to assess. There could be cognitive or motor deficits, but we won't know until she regains consciousness." Michael nodded, trying to absorb the information. "Her daughters, can they see her?" The doctor hesitated. "Usually, children aren't allowed in the ICU, but given the circumstances, and we may make an exception, it might help Sarah to sense their presence." After Dr. Patel left, Michael remained by Sarah's side, holding her hand and recalling moments from the past. Their first meeting in the school library, afternoons studying, the prom. "I should have fought harder for you," he murmured, a tear sliding down his face. "I shouldn't have let distance come between us, but I'm here now, Sarah, and I'm not going anywhere." The next day, Michael returned to the hospital with Emma and Grace. The girls were nervous, clinging to his hands as they rode the elevator. "Is Mommy still asleep?" Grace asked, her small voice trembling. Michael knelt down. "Yes, sweetheart. Mommy is in a very deep sleep, healing. But she can hear you, so you can talk to her, okay?" Emma, always the protector, tightened her grip on her sister's hand. "We'll help Mommy wake up," she said with determination. As they entered the room, Michael watched the twins carefully. Their eyes went wide at all the machines, and Grace let out a small sob. It's all right, Michael reassured them, guiding them closer to the bed. All these machines are helping Mommy get better. Emma was the first to approach. Gently, she touched Sarah's hand. Mommy, she called softly. It's us, Emma and Grace. We came to see you. Grace, encouraged by her sister, joined in. Mommy, we miss you. Please wake up soon. Michael felt his heart break at the sight. The girls kept talking to Sarah, telling her about their days and the drawings they had made for her. At one point, Grace began quietly singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, a song Sarah used to sing to them. As he watched, Michael noticed something surprising. Sarah's heart monitor registered a slight uptick during the song. Dr. Patel, Michael called out excitedly when the doctor entered for rounds. Look! The neurologist examined the monitors, a small smile forming on his lips. This is very good, he said. It shows that, on some level, Sarah is responding to external stimuli. Keep talking to her, singing, but it may help her recovery. The doctor's words brought a glimmer of hope to Michael. Sarah was in there, somewhere, fighting her way back. When it was time to leave, the girls reluctantly said goodbye to their mother, each giving her a gentle kiss on the cheek. We'll come back tomorrow, Mommy, Emma promised. And we'll bring more drawings, Grace added. Michael gently ushered them out of the room but stopped at the door. Could you wait a minute? I need to tell your mum something. The twins nodded, waiting in the hallway with a nurse. Returning to Sarah's side, Michael took her hand again. Sarah, he began, his voice full of emotion, I want you to know I'm taking care of the girls. I'll protect them, love them, do everything I can to keep them happy and safe until you come back to us, and I'll be here every day, waiting for you. So fight, Sarah. Fight with all you have. We're waiting for you. With one last squeeze of her hand, Michael joined the girls in the corridor. As they headed to the elevator, he made a silent promise to both himself and Sarah. He would unravel the mystery behind the accident, look after the twins as if they were his own, and do everything possible to bring Sarah back. The sun was setting as they left the hospital, casting a golden glow over the city. And though the road ahead was uncertain and full of challenges, Michael knew he wasn't alone in this journey. He had Emma and Grace, and together they would bring Sarah home. Days turned into weeks and weeks into a month. Michael Anderson's routine had become a delicate balance between his work responsibilities, daily hospital visits, and, above all, caring for Emma and Grace. On that sunny Saturday morning, Michael walked into room 307 at Central Hospital, carrying a fresh bouquet of daisies, Sarah's favorite. The nurses already knew him well, greeting him with kind smiles as he passed. Good morning, Sarah, he said softly, placing the flowers in a vase by her bed. I brought your favorites today. The steady rhythm of the monitors was his only reply, but Michael was used to it by now. He sat in the chair beside her bed, gently taking her hand as he always did. The girls made some new drawings for you, he went on, pulling out a few sheets of paper from his folder. Emma drew all of us at the park. She said it's for when you wake up and we can have a picnic. And Grace, well, she drew you as a superhero. She says you're the strongest of all because you've been fighting so hard. Michael hung the drawings on the wall, adding to the colorful mosaic of love and hope already decorating the room. Dr. Patel entered, his expression serious, but not devoid of compassion. Good morning, Mr. Anderson. How is our patient today? Any changes? Michael asked, the hope evident in his voice. The doctor examined the monitors and made a few notes. There are small signs of improvement. Brain activity has been gradually increasing, and her reflexes are becoming more responsive. They're small steps, but significant ones. Michael nodded, clinging to every bit of good news. And about her waking up. Dr. Patel sighed softly. Coma is unpredictable, Mr. Anderson. Each case is unique. Sarah is making progress, but we can't predict when or if she'll regain consciousness. The important thing is to maintain constant stimulation and positivity. After the doctor left, Michael turned his attention back to Sarah. Hear that, Sarah? You're getting better. Keep fighting, we're all waiting. Back at the Anderson mansion, Margaret was in the kitchen with Emma and Grace, preparing chocolate chip cookies. Flour covered the counter and the girls' smiling faces. Grandma Margaret, Grace asked, licking some dough off the spoon. Do you think Mommy will like the cookies when she wakes up? Margaret smiled kindly, her heart clenching a bit. Over the last month, the twins had started calling her Grandma.
If you want this type of stories, then subscribe to Golden Chapter Whispers.